Well, welcome to the new space.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
What do you think?
Pretty high tech, especially compared to our last time I was on the podcast, which took place in my office with passable Bluetooth mics.
Yeah, we weren't quite as cool back then.
Yeah. We
Yep.
listen, moving up in the world. That's all you can
Mm.
hope for.
So for longtime listeners, you guys will remember Laura. Laura is one of our mentoring dietitians here at Case Specific Nutrition, and she runs our North Hills office in PA, where we have an awesome team. And for those of you that have listened over the seasons, I believe it was season 4 that we did a 2-part series on pre-pregnancy and post-pregnancy. And we had her and one of our colleagues, Erin. They were both new moms at the time. And our old mic setup was little lavalier Bluetooth mics that connected to an iPhone, and we only had 2, and you couldn't get 4 to be compatible with a phone. So we just
Passing back and forth. We made it work.
yeah, it worked.
It sounded
not well.
all right.
Yeah,
You know.
it was fine. It did okay. But I will tell you that that episode was when we started to try and reconfigure the podcast.
Yeah.
That was the motivators. We realized we had this goal of wanting to get more of the dietitians on the podcast. That was our first swipe at it. And it was great content, but did not go well from a system standpoint. And we said, we've got to find a better way to do it.
And it looks like we have.
Here we are. This is our next take. And obviously there's just 2 of us this time, but it is to say that you can see there's chairs in here, there's mics in here, there's multiple setups. And so we have the ability to do a part 3 if we want to.
Love it.
It's good stuff.
Let's do it.
But anyway, so for those of you that are not familiar, or this is your first season listening, this is Laura. Laura is going to be joining me today on this episode of the Case Specific podcast. I'm really excited to lean in with you.
Agreed. I feel like when you and I get together, it tends to be long-winded, and full of lots of topics.
Yes. So for you listeners, we typically do our 6 topics. We've consolidated one of them, the social media react. We've consolidated it so that we have 5 topics, which gives Laura and I a little bit of a better shot at being on time.
Go down the rabbit holes, you know?
And we're going to see if I'm an okay timekeeper today. And then just a reminder to everybody, we always launch the big episode of the podcast. And then every week we do release the segments. And so if you're somebody that struggles to listen fully, our 5 segments will always have a little music and gap in between them. So you can listen and you'll know when to pause. But also we do have our minis that get released on our YouTube channel, and you can watch the 12 to 15 minute segments. So just keep an eye out for however you like to listen to content. We're trying to make it a bit more digestible.
Perfect.
So should we dig in?
Let's do it.
I like it. So for those of you listening, you know that I love to talk. I'm intentionally going to be the one that's EPing today, which is cool. So you're still going to hear a lot from me, but I'm really excited for you guys to meet Laura. Once again, she's one of our mentoring dietitians. She's been with Case for 5 years now.
Yeah.
Holy crap. She's one of the OG team members. She helps me train our team. And so she is a wealth of knowledge and body of knowledge. And she has so many fun one-liners that I can't wait for them to come out because I know mine so well, I get sick of them. So this is going to be a good time. So we're going to dig in. Our first topic, commonly asked questions. And so we always have this every month. We do a commonly asked question. And the commonly asked question that we're going to dig into today, what's the deal with creatine? Should I be taking it?
I get that honestly, probably weekly, I would say. Oh, my trainer said, oh, my friend takes this. Oh, hey, should I be taking it, Laura? And I always kind of start with what are we trying to get out of it, right? And what is that client? Are they an athlete? Are they training for something? Are they a weekend warrior? Are they, just somebody trying to live a healthy lifestyle? So I kind of make my recommendations based on that. But, before we go into a recommendation, what is creatine, right? So creatine is a molecule in our body. We make it. It's part of the PCR energy cycle, which typically happens, if I'm not mistaken, anaerobic conditions. So like a 1-rep max, a sprint finish, a short duration where oxygen's not super readily available. And it can be really helpful for all types of athletes, right? Whether somebody's training at a very high level or somebody that's, going to the gym periodically, we'll say. Um, Most recently, it's gotten a lot more advertisement, we'll say, to say that it has a lot more of cognitive benefits outside of the muscular benefits.
Yeah.
The studies that we've been seeing are more in that sleep deprivation, and it's used in the brain, not just muscle cells, which is really cool finding. And when we look at how it's used in the brain, right? All of a sudden we can see, well, when that brain is in metabolic stress, and adding a creatine supplement can kind of help put a band-aid on it, right? Reduce the amount of stress in that brain so we can function better cognitively. We have a little bit better of a memory. And okay, cool. Well, if we're in a sleep deprived state, great. Adding a big dose of creatine can be really, really helpful. But let's go back to the root cause. Why are we in a sleep deprived state?
Yeah.
So I guess my long story short, my answer is kind of, it depends, which is always the common one.
It depends energy.
No one likes the answer.
Yeah, but that's because we're the nuanced gray and people want things that are black and white. But there's a tendency for acute research to be extrapolated prematurely.
Absolutely.
Right. And so this is a perfect example of that, right? You have the most well-researched supplement of all supplements, creatine, which I remember I got to tour GNC headquarters when I was in college, and they had a supplement study room. And this was, again, this was like 2010 or 11. So computers were not quite as great then. So they still had printable versions of it. Yeah, way back in the day when I was a boy, they still had a room with all the printed studies. And it was a giant room, but the creatine section, it had so much more research. And so we've known creatine's great for these systems. Like you said, basically our bodies creates ATP from it and regenerates ATP. So extremely valuable. And we've also known that creatine is in the body. I'm so happy that you said that, because most people think they're supplementing something like that's new. It's like, no, you're just enhancing the quantity of something you already have.
You're just supplementing something that we already make.
And so more is better. Maybe. Is there a threshold or tipping point? Probably.
Yeah.
But all this is old information we've known for a very long time. And even the fact that it has an effect on the brain is not like crazy to realize. But the study came out, or was, discussed, and it went on its podcast tour a couple months ago. That was 20 grams of creatine.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot. Normal dosage is 5 grams for those that aren't familiar with creatine.
Possibly 3 for females.
Yeah, 3 for females. And you must be drinking about an extra 24 ounces of water if you add that much creatine, because of how it affects the body and how it causes water retention in the muscle cells, but it can actually dehydrate you and stress your kidneys if you are not good at your water, potassium, and sodium upkeep.
And that's 24 fluid ounces on top of your recommended daily allowance. Yes.
And so we've got 20 grams, which is a lot of creatine. And what it did, as you said, it helped repair sleep debt in someone that was sleep deprived, which is like awesome. So when I think of like the overworked surgeon, pop some creatine, I like that better than like crashing a monster.
Yes.
But it's also the problem with the acute versus long-term is then the people that come into our office think that you're supposed to take 20 grams a day for life as a life hack.
Oh boy.
That's where that
is true. That happens.
That's all the time, right? And so that's where it becomes this issue where people are like, yeah, so like the question, should I be taking creatine, is like maybe and also probably. But like if the question is, should I be taking 20 grams of creatine religiously?
No.
Thank you. Yeah, no, like absolutely not. We don't have the long-term data. There's probably a point where that amount gets extremely saturated. There's definitely a hydration concern. Most people don't drink enough water at baseline, let alone with that much creatine.
I would say 85% of clients that walk it, like new clients that walk into my door, are drinking less than a fourth of what they should be drinking water-wise.
I believe you. And I actually love that as a stat. Like that's, you start to realize like,
I'll start collecting data.
Please, especially for this, because we're going to do these, and it's fun, because one of the things I love about this podcast is everyone listening. There's a lot of clients, there's a lot of colleagues, we have a pretty diverse audience these days, but everybody's human to my knowledge.
I would hope so. Maybe
yeah,
some dogs.
Yeah. Oh, probably some dogs. Yes. Remy's not here today. I have dinner plans afterwards,
No.
unfortunately. But
I'm bummed. It's fine.
yeah, I wasn't going to say anything. I didn't want to get you bummed out and then you leave me. But it is to say that everybody needs reminded that like they're not the only person struggling with it. So when you're like, hey, by the way, like thousands of people that come to Case struggle with water intake.
Oh,
People
yeah.
get to go like, oh, so like I'm not alone. It's like, no. And also like we're really good at getting people to like break that bad habit and create the new habit. So it's just kind of a fun, that data, I find that this is our opportunity to scream from the rooftops and like let people know that they're not alone in some of their struggles. So
Absolutely
appreciate that.
not. Yeah.
So for those listeners, one of the things that I'd pull there is the 20-gram creatine that helps with acute sleep deprivation. Super interesting. And I want to see more research on it. But does that convert to we should long-term be mega dosing creatine? It's like, no. And I love, why are you, if you're acutely sleep deprived because of a late flight and an early work day and not enough PTO, so be it. Like do what you got to do. But if you think that you need to be taking this because you're perpetually sleep deprived, we need to be looking into why you're perpetually sleep deprived.
I mean, it's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole at that point.
Beautifully said. It's never going to replace sleep. Nothing replaces sleep other than sleep. It may be a part of a offset cocktail that helps dilute it.
Sure.
But we're Band-Aid on a bullet hole is perfectly stated. So
One-liners, baby.
Yep, exactly. Hey, look at you being more concise than me.
I'm trying.
So anything else you wanted to make sure we talked about on the creatine front? That definitely was definitely my focus. Is we could obviously talk about creatine, but I'd like, like the water and all that, but I don't know that we need to nerd out there. I think it's just more of like key takeaways at this point.
I would say if you want to nerd out, talk to your dietitian on it. But yeah, I mean, okay, yes, there's some water retention. There can be certain forms that you can take that are less water retentive. At that point, sometimes though, it ends up being you're splitting hairs, right? Most often the answer is sure, yes, you could benefit from taking some creatine. Do you have to be super regimented and oh my gosh, I can't miss a day. Oh, right? No. But if you take it five days out of the week, pretty regimented, we're probably going to see some benefits.
Yeah. It will increase your levels of creatine. It's not a perfect science of what's the point at which more levels of creatine doesn't actually enhance your reality. So we don't have, that's where the 5-gram recommendation or the 2-gram for the hydrochloride is rooted in higher dosages were not shown from a muscular perspective to improve muscle recruitment, muscle recovery, stamina, or power. And so like we've kind of honed that in and beat that to death. These dosages are pretty solid.
Yeah.
The new knowledge of those same dosages are solid for cognitive and have potential value for the brain. Yeah, especially in an overstimulated environment, probably not hurting the cause. It gets tricky because some of that data beyond the 20-gram is actually rooted in the observational research that people that take creatine seem to have improved cognition, but people that exercise have a 17% increase in cognition. So is it the creatine or is it that people that exercise are more likely to take creatine?
See, it seems like this could be causation versus correlation.
Yeah, exactly. And so some of the original stuff of like, oh my gosh, it helps the brain. It's like, well, it's a part of a lifestyle that helps the brain. Being more active, paying more attention to your diet, taking supplements. If you take creatine, you're fundamentally more likely to get enough protein and you're fundamentally more likely to eat more fruits and vegetables.
Sleeping better.
You're probably prioritizing your sleep. Like you start to hear where we're like, this might not be direct, but then the direct research was that mega dose sleep deprivation study. Super cool. But once again, we have short-term acute data. We can't extrapolate that and not expect second or third order consequences. And we're here to make sure that doesn't happen to you.
I like it.
Cool. I love it. That's a good one. I'm happy we got to dig into that one.
Case closed.
So we've got our next segment. We're digging in. This is the one that we consolidated because, chatty Kathy's. I can be a chatty Kirk, right?
I suppose you could be Kathy if you want. Whatever floats your boat, man.
So we've got ingredient obsession / social media react.
Yep.
And so
you pushed it into one.
I like that. That was a really good idea. And I love what we're about to dig into because I think a lot of listeners are going to benefit from it. So we have the Yuka app and the Olive app as examples of basically these like food grading systems.
Yes, the healthy, holistic food scanners.
Yeah, the food scanners that are basically eat this, not that, mobile device 2025 edition. And so let's it depends energy this yay or nay. But talk to us a little bit about these food scanner apps as they, come in more and more from clients. Like what's your take on them?
I get a lot of questions on these. Oh, Laura, do you use Yuka? Do you like these apps? What's your read? And I'm at a place where I kind of look and I say, they interest me, yet I can see a lot of harm. So I can see the helpful side, I can also see the harmful side. And I think zooming out a bit, we'll start with the helpful, right?
What's your start?
We'll start with positives, right? If we look at the positives, it is a very quick, simple way for someone who does not feel super confident or educated in reading food labels to scan something that has a barcode and to find out, is this helpful, harmful? Is this good for me to eat? Are there better alternatives?
Mm, I
Which
love
I
that last one.
think is a really important thing. I don't want to demonize it because I think they can be very helpful for some people, especially with certain food products that have a very long list of ingredients where this is the social media react, right? Where people are in the grocery store, look at this, look at that, look at this. We can't pronounce this word. Well, maybe one of those words is thiamine. And that's a B vitamin and we need thiamine. Okay?
Yeah,
So it's sometimes we don't have all of the information present as a general public.
well said.
You or me, I feel like we're pretty confident in the nutrition world, I'd say.
Yeah.
I can read an ingredients label and kind of make that decision myself. The other piece is, I would say on the counterpart of that, is it can really oversimplify something.
Mm-hmm.
It's also not looking at what else am I eating? What else does my day look like? How much of said ingredient am I
Yes.
eating? And I said the example to you earlier and to a client, I don't know, a week or two ago. I said, well, let me scan, Sour Patch Kids. It's going to come up with probably pretty bad,
Yeah.
right? F. Um, but like, what if I have, 6 Sour Patch Kids and the rest of my day is oats with Greek yogurt and blueberries and, turkey sausage or some eggs and, a chicken burrito bowl with black beans and plenty of vegetables and some guacamole and dinners, maybe, some salmon and stir fry a veg over some soba
There
noodles,
we go.
right?
Yeah.
Is it really problematic that I'm having 6 Sour Patch Kids? No. But do I feel bad buying them all of a sudden because I scan this ingredient and it's an F? That's horrible for you.
Yeah.
Potentially, right? It kind of you have to look at the mindset of somebody. So it can be really triggering in that sense. A positive for me, again, is it tells me that that person that's sitting in my office that says, Laura, I'm using this app to help me. They're trying to increase their awareness around food,
Yeah.
which excites me. Because a lot of us move throughout the day with zero cares about
Mhm.
what we're putting into our body.
Reactive.
Reactive, or it's the fastest, most convenient thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that really excites me for somebody to start looking in and saying, okay, you know what? I like this snack food. This is fast. It's easy for me in the morning or mid-afternoon or wherever. All of a sudden, you know what? I normally have this bar and I chose this bar this time because it's a better score, Laura. What do you think? I'm going to say, great. I'm also going to say, could we eat food that looks like food that belongs in nature? Right? Can we get to that point eventually? But this is a really great step in the right direction. And so I think a lot of times these apps can create this atmosphere where it's eat this, not that, like we
Mhm.
had said, which is just so oversimplified. Nutrition has so much more nuance to it.
Yeah. That's beautifully said. And that's why I said that was the original book, right? Eat This, Not That, what came
Hmm.
out, and I think it was the early 90s. And it was that first grading of food situation. And as you're saying so well, it comes from good intentions. And if you use it right, it's a directional win. Like it'll point you in the right direction. But what we see, unfortunately, from our side of the desk is the people that treat it like it is law.
Yes.
And there's a big difference between what you just said, which is what you want the app to do, which is
Mhm.
the person scans the item and it gives a cool alternative that lets them trying new things, or they're chatting with you and they're able to recognize that the app grades something as an individual. And it's really hard to say how pretty a puzzle is when you only have one piece in your hand. So your beautiful puzzle that you articulated of this day of food, it's like, let's pile that up and put 6 Sour Patch Kids in there and tell me that it's somehow destroyed. Like, that's such a perfectionistic perspective. And that's wrong. It's just
Right.
objectively wrong. The way that those 6, the 11 grams of sugar that's going to give or whatever is going to hit your bloodstream, it makes it
I'm gonna get
null.
insulin resistance though.
and
No, it's not how it works.
and that's in an attempt to, as a society, in an attempt to keep things to 140 characters, we've unfortunately created a lot of all or nothing thinking where things are objectively good or bad because they are. And we don't realize that, again, food is a combination. Your diet is a blend of things, and the combinations do matter. And so dosing, like you said, matters so much. And so we've seen the eat this, not that, and the various Nutri-Scores and all these things over the years that have, unfortunately, in an attempt to help people think about other options, have created, instead of what I would call guidelines, like rigid rules internally. And so for me, these apps, I'm more interested in how the person's using them rather than that they're using them. So it's that, hey, I've been using that Yuka app. What do you think? It's like, yeah, it's got some pretty good info. Like, how are you using it? And if
Exactly.
it's what you said, if they're like, yeah, it's just like whenever I get like a new product, I scan it just to get a peek at it and it shows me some alternatives. So it's like broadened our pantries and given us some other options. And then sometimes it's like motivated me to make freaking carrot sticks and have some hummus instead. It's like, wow, sounds like a really productive tool in your toolbox.
That's a win. I've also seen the exact opposite where said client goes through their pantry and fridge and throws out all of the things that are not a C or above.
Yeah.
To which, a lot of these things can really create much more anxiety and food fears and perfectionist thinking and all of this high anxiety and stress surrounding food. Food shouldn't be stressful.
Well
It
said.
should be something that's an add to our life, right? Something that's fun, enjoyable. Like eating should be fun, people. Newsflash, if we didn't learn that
Hot
yet.
take.
Right, hot take. Food should taste good and make us feel good.
Delicious and nutritious.
And that's where, if I always kind of tell the clients, I want us to zoom out a bit. And if we're able to zoom out and say, okay, hey, if the worst thing that I have in my diet is the occasional, packaged food product, whether it be a snack food or something that's processed, ooh, it's a terrible word, right? It's not a dirty word.
Yeah.
It just means that something has been done to those food ingredients for them to be either more readily available or faster cooking or something. And if that's the worst thing I can point out in somebody's diet and lifestyle, I think they're doing pretty well.
I would totally agree. I would totally agree. I think, and I'm going to say this because this is going to come up in our next couple segments. I think we're about to beat this to death. But most people, especially those that are going to use these apps, so there's a certain level of nutritional awareness, health awareness, and self-awareness that's going to come from the users that download these. And most of those people are very, very disconnected from where like what we'll call the average health of America is right now.
Yeah.
And so they're seeing the obesity epidemic and they're seeing this autoimmune just incidence and prevalence skyrocket. And we're, watching, data that's showing things like autism, and we're trying to find things we can do about it. And so once again, like, I get where the fear is coming from and I get where the desire to take action is coming from. But if you don't understand the environment itself, you're missing a lot of the map. And so the average American consumes over 3,400 calories a day while needing between 2,000 and 2,400. The average American gets 2,500 steps a day, where 10 to 12,000 is considered. The average American consumes 1 serving of vegetables per week.
And a half cup of tomato sauce counts. So pizza counts as a vegetable.
Yeah. And so pizza's in there, people. I love that. I'm so happy. I love that.
I remember learning that at my master's program in Pitt,
Yeah.
and my jaw just hit the ground. I'm like, wait, that counts?
And you're like, oh no, we've gone so far.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the V8 Splash juice counts as a fruit and a vegetable. And again, the average American consumes a vegetable a week, a fruit a week, fast food 7 to 8 times per week, consumes 4 liters of soda per week. And so that is the average. That is what we were saying is like the typical. And most of the people using this app are so far from that, which means they've already done the major things to like take them out of the hunt for a lot of these
We'll also
core
say
issues.
those people are not crushing it though.
Well said.
They're not quite crushing it.
Yeah, that's well said. But it's all to note that like I think that becomes this problem is there's this you're looking to solve a problem that is shown to you by national data, but then you're not actually looking at the data points of the nation. You're looking at your data points. So you start criticizing your 6 Sour Patch Kids because you're consuming sugar because you keep hearing us talking about how we need to reduce added sugar. The average American consumes 120 grams of added sugar per day. And so again, your 11 that you do on a Tuesday randomly on occasion paired with some lunch meal that's otherwise very satiating is not the problem. Is it the same ingredient? Yes, but it's dosed completely differently.
It's taking the generalized nutrition advice to the individual that's not for.
Yes.
I have that conversation with very high level exercisers, athletes, we'll call them, right? They're not traditionally on a team or anything, but you know, high level exercisers. My favorite recommendation is let's get a Rice Krispie treat involved as a pre-workout.
Yeah.
People's Laura, what?
What?
How dare you? Do you know the added sugar in there, Laura? I'm like, yes, I do. And that is fuel for those muscle cells. But they hear added sugar, they hear Rice Krispie treat, they hear sugar, marshmallow fluff, whatever, and automatically assume, well, no, I shouldn't do that. That
Kellogg's
generalized.
bought Laura off. She's paid by Big
I'm
Food.
Sponsored. I'm kidding. That'd be cool though.
Yeah. Hey, give us a shout.
Give me a shout. No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll pass. But it's that ability to say that sugar fuels those cells. That generalized nutrition advice of, hey, watch added sugar, get it down as low as you can, that's for generalized individuals. That is not for you, marathon runners. That is not for you, high-level athletes. You need the sugar. Otherwise, you're trying to get it through fruit or other whole foods. Yes, you might be able to get a substantial amount of calories. It's going to make you feel so much more full, though, which then we look at the whole day. Some of my marathon runners, they need 3,600 calories in a day, and they're sitting there saying, Laura, I can't eat anymore.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Why athletes tend to eat some of this stuff. It's so funny when you start to realize, like, so why do we, quote unquote, demonize those foods? It's like, well, because the average person needs to feel full on less, and those foods don't help you feel full on less. But if you have an athlete that's trying to get energy in really quickly, full is not good. It's actually bad.
Sammy that's going to run 20 miles needs it. Susie Q, that's an accountant sitting at her desk, does not need it.
Yeah. And that's, to her, it's going to spike her blood sugar, and her body doesn't need it. And so it's going to do a whole bunch of things, and we don't need to go way down that rabbit hole. Where the person that's active, it's going to be a super highway straight to the muscle tissue and help with performance. And you start to realize, like, that is the same food and having two vastly different outcomes. And that is where, when I say grading a puzzle piece without looking at the puzzle is wrong, that's why. That's just another reason why it makes no sense. And again, it's people trying to oversimplify info with coming from good intention.
Right.
But when you oversimplify, you always end up leaving some nuance that jeopardizes a segment of people. And so then when you take an app like these, who is already speaking to an audience that is farther along in this, you end up feeding them with like almost fear mongering. And more often than not, they come in afraid to eat.
Yes.
And that's the piece of this puzzle. And so how they use this tool is the thing I'm always curious about. Is, as we've said, do they use it as an asset or a resource, or are they just like absolutely attached to it and trembling and like, I don't know what to eat anymore. Like everything's bad.
Everything's horrible unless I scan carrots. And then they turn orange because they've eaten so many carrots.
Or they get a B+ because they have a little more sugar than their counterparts, which
so true.
That's one of my one of the last pieces, I know we got to like riff about this a little bit. People using these apps are trusting those grading it to have been
Mhm.
grading this well. And I will say openly that historically, that has been a massive fail, which is the algorithms that have been used to grade food have been exceedingly short-sighted. And we have the current ones, they use the Nutri-Score, which is one of the foundational ones that basically punishes saturated fat and sugar,
Sodium.
and sodium, which let's go down a sodium rabbit hole at some point.
We could have a whole podcast on it.
We really could. So we won't fractal. And then it promotes basically produce and fibers and proteins and that stuff, which sounds great at base until you realize that there is an algorithm that's meant to like decide that those are perfect ratios. And most foods are not all of those things. Most foods are an ingredient of a meal that is all of those things. Like rice gets a really bad grade on this because it's just carbohydrate. But you're not supposed to eat a bowl of rice and call it dinner. You're supposed to pair it with a protein and a fat
Sounds
and
like
a vegetable.
really boring dinner.
Yeah, just sit there and eat rice. And so when you grade an ingredient and then because of its grade, you say you can't eat it, you are removing things that could be paired with a team to get an A. Rice with broccoli and chicken and some sort of cool tasty sauce is a really great meal, but rice by itself sucks.
Right.
I could say the same about most vegetables and things though too, right?
True.
And that's where these scoring things, sometimes they will disproportionately give good grades to things with high micronutrient count, but low macronutrient count, which is assuming that you need a bunch of vitamin and minerals and don't need a bunch of calories, which is only true if you're a low calorie burning human. But if you're a fit human that's doing all sorts of CrossFit classes or whatever it is, and then you're grading this and these foods are getting debunked, not even because of their sugar intake, but because of their caloric ratio to micronutrient, once again, rice gets put out to pasture. And so what is the point of rice? It is, I eat that with the intention of carbohydrate.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a tool.
Carbs are friends, not foes.
So that's the other thing is I would just, for those of you using this app, if you are obsessing over it and you're poking hole, like you're living by it, keep in mind that you're choosing to live by someone else's lens and you're assuming that their lens is accurate. And unfortunately, when I look at the back end algorithms of these things, they're pretty busted. And sometimes they have the audacity to put their own opinions in. So they're not even rooted in the actual science. They're rooted in preference. So you're not just scanning food and getting objective data, which you're then using objectively to make like extremely rigid decisions. But instead, you're using some almond mom's own eating disorder to justify your stupid choices.
Eek.
Like, oh, that's rough.
Not great. Not great, Bob.
So any key takeaways that we didn't, I think we parsed that one pretty well.
Yeah, I think how you use it matters. I think the value is sometimes with the alternative ideas.
I love
but
that.
it really looks at that food item that you're scanning. What's our portion? What's our quantity? What else is with it? And what else are you eating in the day?
Yes.
Right. And I think those questions an app can't answer.
Well said. You can scan it. It can give you an idea. I would ask questions of, okay, why did it get the bad grade? Is it because it's a pure carbohydrate source, which means I should probably use it when I'm looking for a pure carbohydrate source? Notice how
Or
it's a puzzle
pair it
piece.
with other things.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a part of a meal, right? So these puzzle pieces aren't all going to be that. Sometimes they're meant to be paired with things. And so that we have to keep that in mind. You said it perfectly. Like, is this something that I'm eating in abundance and all the time? Is this something that's being peppered into my diet? When I pile up my day, what does my day look like? And so and that's where we come in, to be perfectly honest. You start to realize these are tools, and like meal plans and so many of the other tools that we use, how the person uses the tool matters. And our role oftentimes is to challenge how they're using the tool to make sure they're using it appropriately.
It's also helping them make sure that they're learning with that tool, because a tool like this, just blindly following the grade that you're given, or blindly following a meal plan or something that somebody found online, you're not learning anything.
Yeah.
And the piece of saying, hey, you're going to be the healthiest version of yourself, you have to learn in that process.
Well said. Well said. I love it. Client story is our next one. And It sounds to me like you have I prompted you, like, I want you to have a client story,
I was ready for this one,
and you're
and
ready, so take it away.
I've used him as an example with other clients of mine, and I'll try to make the story fast, but I tend to be long-winded. And he's
We're doing good on time. I'm
heck
surprised, but we're
yeah,
doing good. We're cruising, girl, so you
love
do
it.
what you gotta do.
Okay, so it might be a little long-winded. And I checked with my client. He was fine with me sharing this, obviously, not saying his name or anything. But my client, he is a 60-some-year-old man, active, does CrossFit, came to me wanting to lose some weight. He's not obese. He could lose some weight though, right? Um, and he started with a different dietitian, ended up transitioning with me when she left the company, and we're unpacking his current habits. Food was okay, right? You know, sure, he could eat some more vegetables, more fruits, some more whole grains, right? Nothing crazy. And he was doing well with exercise. Like I said, CrossFit. Um, he was consistent with his movement. And so we finally got to a place where, you know, I kind of said, something seems missing.
Mm,
And he smiled and he goes, well, I have, you know, some binging tendencies, is pretty much what we uncovered. And he really opened up in a short period of time with me, and we're a very good fit, which is fun. He's had a stressful life, a very difficult upbringing. He struggled with alcoholism, um, and things in life would really trigger him, and he would get mad and angry, and he was very reactive. And he ended up turning to sweets when that would happen.
mhm,
And one of the biggest sweets that he would turn to was like a sheet cake, right? And the sheet cake would not last in his house very long.
there we
We'll,
go.
we'll say it that way,
Once
right?
purchased, it disappeared
Once
quickly.
once purchased, it went away very fast. And he and I kind of started unpacking this. And one of our first visits, I explained the cycle to him, which
Yes.
is a favorite here at
Yeah,
Case.
we can
Which I was gonna
definitely.
say, well, we'll go into, but I'll
Yep.
get through his story first. And kind of the basics of food relationship, right? We went through all of this. And he really resonated with it. And he left the office, he comes back for his next visit, and he sits down and we get to talking that, you know, food and sweets as a child were very controlled. It was very manipulative of when he was allowed to have them.
Mm,
When he did get them, there was a competition aspect between siblings. Food was hidden. Food was shamed a lot in the
mm,
household. And he realized that his only safe place was at grandma's house.
okay.
And grandma also had cake and sweets, plenty for whenever he was there. And so his brain, and I watched his eyes connect the dots while he was sitting in my office saying these things. And he really opened up and he said, I think sweets for me is looking for safety.
Boom.
And I
What a
mean,
client epiphany.
oh my God, it was awesome to
You
watch.
just go, yep, mic
And
drop.
I looked at him and I said, you hit the nail on the head,
Hmm.
right? And since he's had that realization, right, we've worked on obviously ahead of that, right? Look at reintroducing these foods in a much different manner. He's an adult, he's 60-year-old adult now. He can buy, there's nothing stopping him from buying a sheet cake every single day.
Yeah.
And I told him that, and he's like, I guess you're right. The shame is obviously there, the guilt is there,
Hmm.
which the cycle we'll get into, like I said. And I'll fast forward. He has not bought a sheet cake in a very long time.
Mm.
Now he's had a couple, you know, cookie things here and there,
Yeah.
but he sits there in my office and he smiles and he goes, Laura, I still have that sheet of cookies from the last time I was here.
Yeah.
And he said, I would never have expected this big of a change with my relationship with food. Just making a realization with this is how my brain thinks of this food, right? It is something that is constantly restricted. And again, I mean, let's jump into the cycle.
Yeah.
And so the cycle, it starts out with restriction,
Hmm.
right? There is some sort of restrictive behavior, whether that be physical. It's not, I'm not allowed to have it in the house.
Can't keep it near me.
Can't keep it near me. It is a mental restriction of, oh, I'm only allowed this, or societal restriction of, oh, that's bad for me. I shouldn't do that, right?
Some sort of demand of willpower is the way I like to
Yes.
describe it. It's a decision that says, I must use willpower to stop eating these things, and subtextually saying, everybody that doesn't eat these things is using willpower, so I should too.
Exactly. Which leads to that next piece, which is resistance,
Mhm.
right? We have to resist the temptation. We have to draw on the willpower. We have to, oop, I'm going down the aisle where the candies are. My
Yeah.
blinders
I
come
can't
on.
even go in there. I've got to go on the outsides only. You start making weird rules.
I only order groceries online because I can't step into the grocery store. I can't be controlled,
I leave the birthday party before they serve the cake.
right?
Just all these random life rules where you
Mhm.
walk on eggshells through your existence.
And then comes the rebellion. Willpower is not, it ends at some point. Something happens, right? Whether you get triggered when you eat, "Oh, I've been really good though,
Mhm.
right? Or I give up. I'm not seeing the progress I was supposed to. I'm supposed to
Why bother?
let's use cake. I'm going to cut out cake. I should be losing weight. I'm not. Why bother?
Mhm.
Rebellion. That is your brain's get it while you can mentality.
Mm.
We overindulge.
Yep.
We clean up a sheet cake, right? To a place where, see, I knew I couldn't do it. See, I know I shouldn't buy these things. See, it's not, it can't be in the house. I can't be near it. It's me. I'm the problem.
Yeah. Why don't I just have enough willpower? Why can't I do this?
Right.
So we,
Which brings the guilt, the repeat,
Yep, exactly.
right? It goes back to the beginning of the cycle. And where does that lead us?
Over and
Over
over.
and over
Yep.
and
Restrict,
over.
resent, rebel, repeat. Restrict, resent,
Exactly.
rebel, regret, repeat. There was
Regret,
the word
yes.
regret. Thank you.
I
Yep.
used guilt. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
but it's the R is the regret.
Yes. And it brings that repetitive cycle over and over. And the only way to break said cycle is understanding that the first piece, the regret, the repeat, and the restrict, that's the weakest part of the cycle. That's where we have to break. And does that mean, yes, let's eat a sheet cake every day? No, because you're probably not going to feel so good.
Yeah.
But it's changing the belief pattern and the guilt pattern associated with it. We bust that cycle. That person comes in, they don't want to use that food as a coping skill anymore.
Yeah.
They've realized how poorly it makes them feel, and they're out of the cycle.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud of this client. I love him so
that's
much.
huge.
And
Well,
he's done so much good work.
Oh, it's incredible. So thank you for sharing. And also, if he's listening, thank you for letting us, if you know who you are, thank you.
You know who you are.
Yeah. But what I will say is a lot of people binge and then have the audacity to blame the binge when it was actually the restriction that caused the binge.
Exactly.
And that's the miss.
You have to work upstream.
And that's where when they binge, they then go back to restriction because they think the restriction is the hero when it's actually the villain. And I did not just say to live gluttonously and not ever care. I said restrict. We're trying to find a moderation.
There's a difference there.
Yeah. If we're sitting here watching someone that's swinging from a 1 to a 10, our goal is to help them find the 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what moderation is. It's learning an appropriate relationship with food. And newsflash, what he just went through is most of us have something like that. If you have an impaired relationship with food, it probably means there is something learned or something from childhood or some sort of nostalgia or some sort of convenience mechanism. There are behaviors that are learned over time and associated over time that we're not even conscious of. And they will seem like they are somehow impervious to our willpower, right? They're going to come back no matter what. And it's largely it's not, it's we should never be using willpower as our like constant day to day, because an underlying willpower
You
requirement.
can't willpower yourself to a healthy
Yeah.
lifestyle. You just can't.
Willpower is finite. If you're interested, there's a great book called Thinking Fast and Slow by David Kahneman where he digs into willpower depletion. It's called ego depletion. He won the Nobel Prize for this, the heuristics in behavioral economics. But ego depletion is when your dopamine center runs out. And you literally, he describes your conscious brain watches your limbic brain basically just wreak havoc on your life, because you have your conscious brain up top and you've got your limbic brain, which we like to call our monkey brain. And when you run out of dopamine, your monkey brain just goes nuts. And so he actually describes in the book, he uses food as an example. And he goes, we can all relate to being just exhausted at the end of the week. And we're just stuffing our face with something. And there's the conscious part of our brain that's like pounding on the glass saying, don't do it. And our subconscious can't hear them.
Don't care.
Yep. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
And that is called ego depletion. It is the inability to care for self, which, comment, we probably need to inspect why you're getting so dopamine depleted.
Let's work upstream.
So maybe talk about the dopamine depletion, but also let's then understand where this coping came from. Because when you're ego depleted, your brain can go soothe somewhere, and you do get to pick where you soothe. And the comment is, I like to call what he was going through a +1 -1. Or even a +1 -10, which is in the moment, it felt real good. The sheet cake binge feels good, but then it feels awful afterwards. Not even because he should feel awful, but because you feel like crap when you pound that much sugar. Like
And
you
that-
just do.
And that was one of my first questions. I was like, how do you feel? And he was like, pretty terrible.
Awful. And so you don't need to add shame to that, because the consequence is physical. It doesn't need to be emotional as well. Like, don't beat yourself up on top of also feeling swollen and inflamed and sick. Like, let's chalk it up to like, yeah, lesson learned. But the secret is alternatives that are a +1 +1. And so people need to find the thing they can do in that moment that also feels good, but then rewards them for doing it. And where we tend to miss when we give advice as we troubleshoot this, because it's always a troubleshooting with people, right? You find the alternative with them. We start with like, oh, go take a walk. And it's like, remember, this person needs to be able to do this when they're in an ego depleted state, which means a walk is not, it costs dopamine. You're not going to go exercise in this moment. It needs to be something that is so bare bones that it just makes you happy in that moment. But then the key, especially for someone that has one like him, where it was built in childhood, the first time that instead of eating the cake, he chooses to listen to music or read the book or lay in bed and watch the movie. For me, it was, I've talked about this on this podcast over the years. When I was doing my 100-hour work weeks and I was just burning it, it was laying in the love sack with 2 Rottweilers and a Netflix show. And it was like, I'd lay on a heated massager. So I had like the positive of the massager. I had the snuggly dogs, and then I'd have the Netflix episode.
Combo dopamine spikes.
So that was nice. It was +1 +1 +1. But then the other thing was I would then go to bed, and then I had the +10 of not having raided the fridge. And
You're
then
able to sleep better quality.
and then I slept well, which means I woke up on a timely manner. And then I had an appetite in the morning, which meant I got to eat a real breakfast instead of feeling nauseous. And so my +1 -1 of a 16-hour day as evening snack converted to a snuggle with Rottweilers on a love sack. It didn't make a +1 -1. It made a +1 +100. And what ends up happening is your brain will always go to the better thing. And so you can replace sheet cake once you unlock that thing. But a lot of people give up on that, right?
I would also say a lot of people don't have the ability to look for dopamine spiking actions in their day early enough. We wait to get to such a depleted state that the only thing we have left
Yes.
is to doom scroll on our cell phone we leave medium screen during the day, our computer screen,
Yep.
to then rot our brains on little screen and big screen at the same time.
Simultaneously.
Right?
Yes. Perfectly said.
And again, I have this conversation with clients all the time. Getting to a place at the end of the day where you are so drained that is the only thing you can do is a problem.
Yeah.
And our society is so overworked, overstressed, addicted to screens, and then also lacking other coping skills that are away from a screen or food.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's a big problem.
That's where predetermined alternatives. So you said it's almost, you can hear where it's, we definitely need to be addressing why we're so depleted and
Right.
drained. But then the other side is, if you're waiting until you're drained to try and like pick the
Fix it.
thing, you have dopamine fatigue, which means your ability to make a decision is literally non-existent.
Mhm.
So you have to have created one alternative path, not 10, one path that you're going to do instead. And that's how this starts, is it becomes the game of, okay, the next time your brain says sheet cake, I want you to realize that that is your brain not asking for sheet cake, it's asking for emotional safety. And then I want you guys would then troubleshoot and talk about the thing.
What else can we do?
And then you pick the thing and you say, okay, the next time your brain says sheet cake, instead we're going to do this. And
Mhm.
the first time they may eat the sheet cake still, but they're going to go, this is when I could have done that thing. And then the next time they're going to think of it in the moment and go, sheet cake. And then the next time they're going to do it and go, I'm going to do the thing. And then it rewards them. And then they do the thing more easily and more easily. If it isn't more easily and more easily, it means it wasn't the right thing. So then you come back and you go, well, what's the alternative thing? We've got to pick the alternative. And that's where my Netflix back massager and Rottweilers was not my first take.
I was going to say it was probably a combo that you got there.
I got
finally.
there. It was some iterations. It was noticing some tendencies, right? And so that's one of my favorite parts of us as troubleshooters, is we get to be there for the person when they have these realizations, and then we get to troubleshoot our way through with them and help them get to the other side of it. And you have someone like this who had the willingness to step back and realize where this came from, which allowed him to translate what it was trying to do for him. And that's, I always tell people, give your bad habits some credit, because they're doing something for you.
And they're trying to solve a problem for you.
That's right. That's exactly, they're trying to do something for you. They have unnecessary consequences.
That don't make us feel very good. Yeah.
But they're the intention of like emotional soothing. Let's not like just decide that you need to somehow like not need emotional soothing. Like, you're not a robot.
Yeah.
You're not looking to be emotionless. You're looking to better cope. And that means adopting and iterating better alternatives. And so it sounds like this guy had some big breakthroughs. And I guarantee every person listening has some subconscious childhood food related stuff that they're not
Childhood or
realizing.
learned or something. Yeah. It's, I mean,
Various, we even call
welcome
it,
to our society.
yeah, call it even not even childhood, but just like younger you. Like, you know, when you first moved out, how you coped in it when you were in college, or when you lost your job in your mid-20s, how you cope, like whatever it is, we tend to find coping in some of our darkest moments. So if you're noticing a habit that you feel like is this subconscious, deeply rooted thing, might be worth going backwards and looking like, when did I start doing this? And if you're struggling to find it, think of through your seasons of lows throughout your life and see if you can find when it started. Because a season of low typically has coping needs. You're a human. That doesn't mean that'll stop, but it's to say that's usually when these start to show up, because we weren't intentional about our coping. And now we get an opportunity to reprogram our coping with better options. And our brain will adapt. Like, you can rewire those in a meaningful way once you become aware of them.
I'll use my client again as an example. He doesn't even think of sweets as the first thing.
Yeah.
There's been a small handful, maybe 2, 3, that he's been like, yeah, I thought about it and I just kept driving.
Yep. It's huge.
And his brain, he just feels more free. And I applaud him for being so able to being vulnerable, I think, is a big key to that. And to say that, you know, yes, you open up, and he, you know, he's fine with me saying this as well. As, I mean, he's been in therapy for years and years and years. And being open with those providers is very helpful for them to ask the questions and point out the things that they hear.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to excavate it. Oh, he killed it. And again, his story is so relevant to so many people, because that's what we call the real work. And so when we talk about relationship with food and all of that stuff, like, this is really what it's about. And you start to hear most people just try and play checkers in a game of chess. Like, it's really complicated, emotional, and nuanced. And they're just like, king me, bitch. And it's like, that's not how it works. So every time your brain's like, no, I just need to have the willpower. It's like, I mean, I'm not going to say you never need discipline. that'd be a lie. Like, yeah, that's a piece of it, but
Mhm.
like how you're using it, when you're using it, and why you're using it all matters. And if we step back, there's probably some things that you're spinning your wheels on that if we zoomed out and took a different perspective, instead of just like running into the wall over and over again, we might find out that there's a doorway 4 feet to the left. And
Mhm.
so like, let's reconfigure this maze a little bit. Right. And so that's where I think everyone could probably relate to some degree to what he's experiencing.
Mhm.
But then more importantly, it's a chance to say, hey, if you're dealing with that, instead of relying on just like the rogue willpower and that stupid cycle where you're over and over again feeling not enough, maybe it's time we help you shift your perspective and aim this differently so that you can overcome it in a way that isn't draining, which means it'll be sustainable and permanent. And now we're really rolling.
Love it.
Oh, you killed it. This feels like a perfect time for your scream from the rooftops.
I will scream it from the rooftops all day, every day.
There is a
It's
mic that
something.
helps.
Yes, that's true. I don't need to scream, I suppose. Um, it is, I talk about it every day, all day. You cannot be the healthiest version of yourself without a healthy relationship with food. You just can't. You can't willpower your way to a healthy lifestyle because we said it already. It's not an infinite source. You
Yeah.
just can't do it. And we'll have the people that'll kind of fight back and, say, no, I just got to be harder. I got to try more. I got to do these things. How's that going for you?
Yeah. It's the shortcut and you've been doing it for 10 years. Is it really that
Mhm.
short? Is it really saving you time at this point? Could we have taken the year that it takes to run it the right way and do it permanently as opposed to 10 years spinning our wheels saying one day we'll get this?
Yeah,
It's the wrong hill to die on.
it is. And food is, and like you said, I'm not sitting here saying, yes, eat whatever you want, whenever you want it, with no care in the world whatsoever. No,
No.
because you're probably going to feel like trash,
Yep.
and your health will decline. But just like our brain connects with positive dopamine pathways, it also connects with when we feel good eating certain ways. And that's something that always interests me when I have a new client. And it's probably by session 2, 3, 4, 5, when they come in and they say, I don't know, Laura, I just like feel a better, but
Mm.
maybe the scale hasn't changed,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, cool. I love, yeah.
Sometimes it has, sometimes it
Yep.
hasn't, right? The scale are like, it hasn't moved or anything, but like I feel so much better. And that excites me because they're changing their behaviors, they're changing their meal patterns, their nutrition density, their types of foods they're eating, their planning techniques. All of these things are starting to change in the
Yeah.
first fives, right? All of a sudden, they're realizing and connecting the dots that, oh, eating in a different way makes me feel better. Now, this
Mm.
isn't taking somebody from McDonald's and having them eating kale salads. No,
Mm-mm.
this is taking somebody and adding to the plate, adding the things that are missing.
Yeah.
And when we do that, we're not taking the things away that that person loves.
Yeah.
I'll use your phrase, subtraction by addition,
It
right?
is.
But it also is saying, hey, you can have those favorites. We're just going to eat them in a little bit different of a way because food is way more than just macronutrients. It's supposed to be enjoyed. It's supposed to be tasty. It's a common thread to all aspects of life. Go to a wedding, food. Go to a funeral, food. Go to a celebration, food. Go on a date, food.
Yep.
Go to a friend's house, food. Where else do we go that doesn't have food? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Also, don't invite me because I like food. So it's one of those things that I die on this hill because I am a firm believer that you cannot diet or restrict or willpower yourself into the healthiest, and I mean all encompassing healthiest
That's a key note there.
version of yourself.
Yep. That is sustainably. And that's
Sword in the ground.
how many thousands of people have we had to help to know that is just true, right? You can have bursts of intense focus towards an aim and a goal.
Sure.
That may be relevant to performance, that may be relevant to some sort of short-term or acute outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, if you want to be the healthiest you in the long term, it does not come from holding your breath and ignoring everything around you. It comes from acknowledging it, embracing it, and learning the gray area. And
Agreed.
Man. And so I love that scream from the rooftops. The thing that comes to mind when you say it is I think of like, and we've kind of alluded to it a little bit, is like the macro bro.
Mhm.
And I'd love your feedback. So, so you get the guy where you say like, hey, like we're going to work on your relationship with food. And they go like, pish posh. I don't need that soft lingo. Like I just need to get my shit together. Like I just need a set of macros. I need a meal plan. I really like to eat in a rhythm. Like I like this stuff. Like I don't need to heal my relationship with food, right? Like because there's definitely some of those people listening and eye rolling on
Sure.
YouTube and all the different places.
Absolutely.
And what's funny is I know that what they're hearing is not what we're saying.
Right. We're missing a big piece of the puzzle there.
Yep. And so what I'd love to kind of prompt you on is when you're thinking of that client that's in your office, what are some of the things that you end up talking to them about that help them understand what you mean by relationship with food?
Fair question. I kind of ask first is what they deem as permissible, which I stole from a client. She was a fun one. She would only eat foods that she deems permissible.
Mm.
I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued. What is that?
Yeah, is this the Yuka app?
Right? Is it an app that just says permissible or not permissible?
Yeah.
That would be a fun one too. So I kind of dive in and I would ask this client, what do you view as that healthy thing? Or what do you view as, quote, clean eating?
Yeah.
What are the things that you've learned are in that category? And I would also ask the flip, right? What's the things that you're deemed as bad or as unhealthy and why? Right. And I mean, everyone in our office and company know I have a watercolor picture of pepperoni pizza that hangs above my head alongside radishes and broccoli. And it is always a conversation starter because people sit down and say, oh, you're a dietitian. You don't eat pepperoni pizza. And I smile and I say, well, pizza's my favorite food.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Laura. I'm a dietitian. And it becomes a big piece of the conversation right off the bats with clients because it's something that is very different than how a lot of people think. And we'll use this macro bro as the example. Pizza, no, I'm not allowed to eat that. That's bad. Sit there and say, okay, why? It's carbs, fats, and technically serving of vegetables. Right?
Don't get lost.
And so I kind of dive in and say, okay, well, what's so bad about it? Right. And I mean, if you're very hungry going into a meal, maybe a little stressed, you can eat a ton of pizza. And I mean a ton, meaning calorically.
Yeah.
Right? 2 slices, depending upon the size of the pizza, right? 2 slices is well over most people's needs.
Yeah.
But it's not unheard of me being an athletically built individual to throw down 6 slices.
Yeah.
Calorically, that makes no sense for my body, right? Afterwards, I don't feel that great. I'm a little bloated, but
almost like your body was telling you it got too much. Interesting.
Interesting, right?
It's weird but then we say, oh, my body rejected the first slice. It's like, no, it didn't like the pizza. And it's like, no, it didn't like how much of it you ate.
Exactly. So if I were to eat that food in a different manner, call it less pizza, more other food that helps me feel full and satiated. I don't know, like a grilled chicken that's been marinated in some balsamic over a nice leafy green salad.
Sheesh.
Right?
Sounds like a meal.
Sounds like a balanced meal. And all of a sudden their eyes kind of light up and they're like, okay, I see where you're coming from, I guess. But a lot of these people that feel like, oh, I don't need that, pish posh of food relationship stuff, they actually don't have disordered eating behaviors. They simply have no morality attached to their food intake.
Boom.
It's an equation, which mind blows me when I have those clients. I just
Very
look at them
experience.
fascinating. And I've had many of these clients throughout the years, and I will pick and question and continue to pick at that little food relationship thread that I see out of their genes, just pick and pick and pick. 9 times out of 10, yeah, there's some food relationship issues. I've been surprised though that I've had people that are just, I like to eat this way.
Yeah.
I actually genuinely don't like pizza, Laura. And I say, you know what? That's fine. I'm not going to sit here and
Yeah.
berate you to eat pizza or anything like that. I just like to check and make sure, hey, is that foundation nice and strong so that I'm giving this person nutrition advice or macros like they've requested or some of those more details of nutrition. And I'm also setting them up for a lifelong success.
Exactly. One of my favorites. So Rob Wolf, and you
Mhm.
remember this from when we read
Yeah.
this as our in our company book club. So Rob Wolf is the founder of paleo for those listening. And the paleo diet got scooped up from him by the CrossFit world and became this like basically like restrictive weight loss diet.
Mhm.
But the reason that he started it, and in his book Wired to Eat, he excavates this pretty in depth, is he had irritable bowel disease. And he was trying to figure out what he could eat that wouldn't flare him so that he could feel more comfortable and maybe not have to pound a bunch of medications for the rest of his life. Not a bad idea. Came up with the paleo diet, which, funny enough, it's eerily similar to the FODMAP diet.
Yes.
They're almost identical. And the FODMAP diet is what dietitians use to help people with irritable bowels, IBS, and IBD
Mhm.
manage said symptomology. And so, dude wasn't wrong, is the thing I'll say.
Right.
And one of my favorite quotes in his book is, I treat this diet as my baseline. I eat this way because I enjoy it and I feel my best, which is what I enjoy. But if you think I'm missing cake on my daughter's birthday, you're an idiot.
Right. Which I healthy relationship with
That's
food.
a healthy relationship with food. And
Right.
that's the thing I want people to understand is, for whatever reason, there's a segment of the population that thinks when we say healthy relationship with food, we are encouraging them to be gluttonous and unstructured. And it's
Right.
quite the opposite. It's just, where is this rhythm and structure you have? Where is it coming from? Is it rooted in, I enjoy eating this way, and it's I also enjoy how I feel when I eat this way, so I'm in a good rhythm. But if something throws me out of this rhythm, I feel comfortable navigating it. Because if so, like, no notes, do your thing.
Right.
But if you follow your meal plan to a T and then you go to a wedding and you're either packing Tupperware or you are like anxious to a fault, we probably need to have a conversation, because you don't have a good relationship with the 65 days out of the year where you're not going to be able to hit the same routine. And we can create patterns and all sorts. We can troubleshoot that and get you to a place where you have a much calmer interaction with food, noting that it's going to happen.
And also, what impact does 65 days out of the year even have on weight, chronic disease risk, body fat, blood levels? It's not going to be that big of an impact, to which we say, okay, allow the 80% of the time be you eating in a manner that makes you feel good from the inside out. I would also point out that, when we remove the guilt, the shame, that restrictive cycle, when we remove that out of the equation, people are able to actually take inventory of how they feel with certain foods and certain eating patterns, because their brain's not caught up in the, I'm a horrible human because I ate a cupcake today, or I'm a good person because I ate kale today and
Yeah.
willpowered my way to get through the day with, little to no calories. But if all of a sudden we're fueling them properly and we're mixing the components of food, right? Different macronutrients or different components of meals, and they start feeling better. If you remove that guilt and shame and restrictiveness, they can now pay attention to it. To
Yes.
which, when that happens, I would say 100% of the time that I see it, that person chooses the meal that makes them feel the best, unless they're in a high stress, sleep deprived,
Mhm.
or simply searching for a coping
Well
mechanism.
said.
And at that point, we say, okay, hey, it happened. We move on. Let's work upstream. Why did we get to that place? Were we overly hungry because we're not crushing it earlier in the day in terms of our
Mhm.
food spread? Is it we went into the meal overly hungry again because too much time has passed and I went and did blah, blah, blah all day long, right? You've heard these stories before.
Absolutely.
What's the rationale? What's going on that leads us to this situation where we're going to participate in that behavior?
Exactly. That's so perfectly said. It's almost like I like when one of my more concise notions is, yes, dietitians can absolutely tell you what to eat, but our real job is to help you figure out how.
Yeah.
And
Because
that's,
it's the process of the learning that sets you up
yeah.
for a much longer time.
And it's why the pepperoni pizza can go proudly above your head in your videos, and you realize, like,
I will never move it.
of course not. And it's, to your point, it's actually in our society, it's an anchor and a trigger. It communicates to some people an openness and willingness to eat, and then it also triggers the opposing side that tends to be hypercritical. It like they'll try and poke you with a criticism. So you get the people that are like, they're going to take my pizza from me. And then you get the people
Food
that are
police.
like, what, you eat pizza? Like almost like that you're not policing them enough. And one of my favorite comments is, obviously, you know, I train pretty intensely. And so I'm very liberal with my sodium consumption. And I also hydrate like a maniac. Anybody that's watched these videos, they always notice I have a hydration station. Like I pound fluid. So all to say, my sodium content is intentional and in lock. But the amount of people over my adult life that have made a comment to me when I'm out to dinner with them where I'm salting something, and they go, aren't you a dietitian and you're salting your food? And I look at them and I go, am I a bad dietitian or do I know something you don't? And they just freeze. And this is one of those moments, is like,
what a
maybe.
Comeback, Andrew. You're such a fun dinner date.
Yeah, I know. It's why I get asked out all the time, maybe. Anyway, I digress. But it's so fun when you realize, like, your pepperoni pizza is very much that invitation to be like,
Oh, yeah.
maybe I have a better understanding of the complexity of this than you. So yeah, you can go ahead and like hold your breath and try and ignore it and tell yourself that you don't need it. And then once every month or two, get drunk and eat a whole box of it and then continue to pretend that it's the villain. Or you could recognize that your relationship with it is the villain. And if we figured out a smarter way to do it, it would work better. Oof. Mic drop. Oh, I love it. So
Plus
while
the
we're
cycle.
So while we're talking about fear mongering and being overly neurotic about our food, let's switch to the Make America Healthy Again movement. And so, as you know, this has been a segment for us, this season, and I'll sort of anchor it for us, right? And it's just a reminder to those that are frequent listeners and then also those that are new listeners. We talk about the Make America Healthy Again movement because it is fundamentally going to impact nutrition in a variety of ways in our nation. And right now, I like to say that we've spent the last 30 years being gaslit by Kellogg's and being told that avocados were bad because they had fat and Frosted Flakes were great because they had vitamin B3 in them. And now we're being told that those same Frosted Flakes are literal poison and they're killing you. And both of those things
seems
just
dramatic.
Yeah, and it gives you whiplash if you're not careful. And both of those things seem to be missing core information. And as a now 12-year dietitian, isn't that gross? I've been a dietitian 12
You're
years.
old.
I'm old. Case has turned 12 last month, actually. So as a 12-year dietitian that's worked with literally 15,000 patients plus in my career, I have this weird thing called the synthesis, right? There was the original hypothesis that fats were bad and that sugar could do no wrong. And now we're at antithesis, which is that no, fats are everything and that sugar is the devil. Meanwhile, we've not addressed overarching calorie or anything. And I felt very compelled to apolitically, as a profession, say, hey, we know the synthesis of this conversation. So could you loop us in and we could save you like rewriting a bunch of shit like way too far to the other side and then have to rewrite it when you realize why that was wrong? Like we've got some notes, and it's not because we're bought out by big ag or whatever accusations exist.
Big dairy.
Yeah, big dairy, big food, whatever you want to call it. It's because we have a fundamental understanding of how people interact with food, and we understand that the core issue is an inability and misunderstanding of moderation. So at the beginning of this year, when MAHA came in and they were going to be bringing sledgehammers to a situation that potentially deserved scalpels, I felt like it was a great opportunity for me and for this podcast and for our team to speak up and say, hey, we have great insights. And so for those listening, that is our intention in this. It's to have a good, strong dialogue during a time when dialogue is the only way forward. And so with that, I would love to give you a chance to scream from the rooftops on this. Bring us up to date on your MAHA at a glance, and then I've got some little MAHA events that we can dig into together.
Yeah. I mean, my overarching scream from the rooftops in terms of MAHA, it's not a lack of scientific evidence. It's a lack of we're not doing the things. Americans aren't doing the things that we're saying should be done, right? There is a massive lack of fruits and vegetables consumption. There is far too many calories consumed on a daily basis. And this is for the vast majority of Americans, right? Not
Well, and if we're gonna
everybody.
make policies based on averages, we probably should identify
Look
the
at the
averages, which
averages.
is what we talked about earlier in this episode.
So it's the lack of fruits and veg. It's the overconsumption of calories in general, far too much added sugar in the diet. We're not meeting or coming anywhere close to the recommended exercise requirements, right?
Yeah.
Which if AHA, American Heart Association, 2.5 hours per week.
Yeah.
Not many people are meeting that at all whatsoever.
Nope, it's like 8% of people or something. It's crazy.
So if we look and we say, what if we were to just like do that? What would America look like if we were actually doing the things? But I will also sit here and say, like I've said before, we are overworked, overstressed, addicted to screens, the access to movement. There's a missing puzzle piece. And I guess my thoughts are, is removing certain additives and foods the answer to those questions? Probably not. But is it going to do any harm? No.
Yeah.
But I think we're missing a key piece of the education, the incentive, the incentives of doing the things.
Yeah.
What if we were going to say, hey, this is what we need to do, and here's your incentive for getting it done?
Yeah.
I think more Americans would be doing it.
Beautifully said. How it's funny. We talked about this a couple episodes ago, but it's one of the funny things about MAHA a couple months back is they were criticizing my pyramid. And there's two things wrong with that. Is one,
Ancient.
it's ancient, but it's also to say that no one ever even ate it. So they were like, my pyramid has made everybody fat. And it's like, no, that's not what happened at all. Nobody's been eating my pyramid because it was a 2,000 calorie diet with like, it was a bit grain heavy. Yes, it was a bit sugar. Like
It was a little light on the
split
fats,
hairs
sure.
on the macros. Like, yeah, for sure. The protein was a bit light, but the objective truth is that like that wasn't reflective of the average American's diet.
No.
But then what's hilarious is we retired that in 2012. So like 13 years ago and replaced it with my plate, which was make half your plate fruits and vegetables, make a quarter of your plate protein, make a quarter of your plate grains, which just for fun would mean you have a 4-ounce protein source, a cup of some sort of carb, and then a giant salad with fruits. And if you ate that and then added a fat sparingly on those 3 meals, that would be approximately 1,800 calories. And you would be consuming 6 cups of fruits and vegetables a day. You would be consuming about 150 grams of carbs a day with like 30 plus grams of fiber. And you'd be getting over 100 grams of protein a day. That's really good advice.
That would make America healthy again.
It would, but no one's doing it.
Right.
And so the problem isn't that my plate made people fat. The problem is that my plate, no one even knows what we're talking about because no
Yeah.
one heard about it and no one did the things. And so you then get to, okay, what you're saying, what can we do from a policy perspective to change this? And if it's a hot take on my plate, I'm over it
Yeah.
because it didn't work. And so let's try something new.
Mm-hmm.
And what you said is perfect. Yes, taking certain candies and chocolates and things off of EBT and funded foods, stating that if we're going to pay for your food, we want to pay for healthy food.
Which would hopefully mean better access.
Well, and that's the comment I'd make is that if you're going to take those away, what are they eating instead is a very real question that as
Right.
dietitians, we're like, hey, so like, are the things that they're going to eat instead available, or are you just taking their food?
Which is problematic.
That's a problematic thing. And then from there we go, okay, where is the produce in this conversation? Because we said it earlier in the episode, the average American consumes a serving a week of both, of each fruits and veggies.
There's
So like,
room for improvement.
yeah. And that's where in this comment, where we've been kind of hovering in the MAHA is I we had the initial removals of stuff, and it was kind of like this, okay, removing first feels a bit off because like putting things in to replace those removals probably needs to happen, but these are also the easier things to do, and it makes it feel like there's momentum, and it makes it feel can do. So I kind of get the pomp and circumstance, but I'm going to hold tight to wait for like what is the incentive to like replace, what's the additions when we're talking about subtractions. And I got a little hopeful a couple months back because they started showing that they were engaging with food subsidy groups to better improve access to fruits and vegetables in schools and fruits and vegetables in low income areas, and commoditize them in a way that might make them actually affordable. Because right now, fruits and veggies at a gas station don't exist because the margins are so slim. The
Mhm.
gas stations can't afford it and they lose so much money on them. So the only way to do this is really to like subsidize fruit and vegetables so that they are more affordable, so that they can be more accessible. And there have been words of conversation about that, but we're sitting here a couple months later, still waiting for the back rooms to reveal. And that's where the things I had on our notes were that one, we still there was a report sent out here a couple weeks ago, and it was focused on basically the Make America Healthy again, focused on the kids. And it was like we're going to get them to basically like improve their nutrition, and that's going to be by adding good things and taking away some not so good things, and we're going to work on them moving more. And that's about as much detail as we got.
I like the ideas. Is it
Yep.
going to be feasible? Let's see.
Yeah, and that's where the devil is in the details at this point. And policy is a time-consuming thing. It lags, but we need to be very intentional about our policy. And some of these initial shakings were obviously disrupting in a way that may be necessary, but also needs to have like clear plan. You can't just bring a sledgehammer to something and go, "Oh, we'll remodel later." It's like, no, like probably have the schematics first because that would be a good intentional project to do. Um, and so we don't have a ton of MAHA news on that front, unfortunately. But I do, you and I are on the same page with what we're waiting to see. And as dietitians, I think we're really waiting to see what are you doing to change the engagement strategy so that the thing we've been saying for like 40 years, which is eat more produce, starts to click, and
Mm.
incentives are going to be mandatory. Education is going to be mandatory. There are opportunities that dietitians are robustly a part of. And what's really frustrating, they don't seem to be bringing us up very much.
Nope.
And so the news that we do have today is there's been two main calls to action that we've seen. And one of them is that they brought Ben Carson in from the Housing Authority, and he is a retired neurosurgeon. So he is a doctor to run the nutrition aspect of the MAHA. And so he's now going to be a part of nutrition and housing. And that means he's going to be a part of like rural health and nutrition access. And his background seems,
It doesn't seem like he has a ton of work in community nutrition.
yeah, I hope that he has a great team of people that do. But once again, we have this doctor that has no real relevant experience that's running something that is not what their training was in. And we then also heard the great, brilliant idea of, wait, what if we just made sure doctors took nutrition classes in college? Because then they'd be better equipped to prescribe nutrition. And we hear once again, there's this professional, I'm going to call it delusion, that a specialist, I have immense respect for physicians.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to actually hedge this. I shouldn't even have to, but I'm going to hedge this. I have immense respect for physicians, but I also recognize that they are a specialist. They went to a school for a very long time to deal with reactive acute care of a bunch of pathophysiologic conditions.
Right. Which they're
And
very good at typically.
yes, and they have all sorts of tools in their toolbox in medicines that they prescribe. You and I went to school for years to do the lifestyle interventions. We've studied nutrition and in nutrition and environments and cultural aspects of food and nutrition. We've dove into micro and macronutrient metabolism and all sorts of biochemistry and physiologies and organic chemistries specific to nutrition so that we can speak to this. And we're looking at a medical model right now that we've built a business on that is, hey, Right now, the doctor sees you for 5 minutes. They're basically going to put a Band-Aid on the most like acute thing they can, and they're going to wait until you're like too sick to function. Not because they want to, not because they're malicious, but because
That's
our
the
model won't
model.
allow it. We've built a private practice where we sit with people and spend a year or two engaging with them through repetition, troubleshooting, and we create these amazing outcomes. And you have the audacity to think that the solution to our nutrition crisis is for that already overworked, overstressed,
Overscheduled.
and over specialized person to take a quick nutrition class in college so that they can add that to their 5 minute spiel. I call bullshit. How do you feel?
Yeah, retweet. That it's rough. I think it'd be nice. I would love them to take at least Nutrition 101 so they have some sort of, which
Yes,
is not, I don't think people realize this, that's not a requirement of most med schools.
correct. They do not take any nutrition. And again, I mean, I took pharmacology. Like,
I did not take
yeah,
that. No, thank you.
yeah, I took it as an elective. You know me though.
Yeah.
But it's all to say like, but it's just to say I don't mind having exposures to other things. Like I took a bunch of therapy related courses. I did do the pre-med track, so I took a bunch of med adjacent stuff. And so I see the value of being able to take our expertise and scope of practice and pair it like a Venn diagram, which means there should be some overlap.
Right. They should be knowledgeable in the fact of, hey, this is what nutrition can do to certain disease states to prevent, further chronic disease development because they have the knowledge of the pathophysiology.
And then knowledgeable enough of the providers around them to make a
That's
referral.
the other thing is people don't know dietitians exist.
Yep.
That's the issue.
They think that we're the ones in the hospital giving them Mighty Milks.
Yes.
And
or the one to complain about the food. Oh God, that was the worst when I was in my inpatient. But it's a lack of, and you've said it before, playing in the sandbox. Is what if you went to your PCP and said, "Hey doc, here's the issues I'm having." Okay, doc says, "You know what, your blood pressure is a little high. Your A1C has been climbing. We'd like to work on some body composition because of some weights continuing to kind of creep up throughout your lifetime." What if that doctor says, "Hey, right now, let's add this medication for your blood pressure, and I want you to go see this person and this person, right? I want you to go see a dietitian, and I want you to go to see a personal trainer." And that person has access and coverage to go work with those individuals and work on the lifestyle piece, the actual root cause, and make the behavior changes. And then the PCP says, and we'll check back in a year, as they always say, or 6 months, right? 6 months and a year.
Exactly.
And during that 6 months, I want you to work on these things.
Yes.
It's the quarterback, like you've always said. If they actually act like the quarterback and say, "Hey, you need to go here, here, and focus on that," that patient has a lot more of a roadmap to say, "Okay, I'm in charge of these things. I can make a difference."
Well
As
said.
opposed to the, "Yep, we've got an issue here. You're in for constipation. That's why you're so bloated. Here's Miralax. Keep on doing what you're doing."
Yeah.
And which I don't want to chalk it up and say, "Oh, all doctors just are dismissive,"
No.
because they're not. They're treating the issue you're coming in with, which is their job.
That's their job. That's their role.
But I think the next step is adding nutrition courses into their med school going to solve this? Maybe. Who knows? But maybe if they know that we exist, they then say, "Hey, add Miralax in, help with the constipation, then go to a dietitian and figure out the root cause if it's dietary, lack of hydration, lack of fiber, lack of movement, whatever it might be."
Yeah. I would love for them to have enough nutrition education that they know it's time to refer to a dietitian.
Yes, which maybe that's 2 classes.
Yep. And it'd be wonderful for them to have that, but you said it perfectly. They are a quarterback that is in the reactive model. The PCP is the person that says, "Okay, I can treat some quick acute things, and then I can also hear what's going on." And I'm I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of things. And so I can hear what's going on and pretty quickly figure out where I need to send you. And then that specialist has a bunch of knowledge about that thing. And we know that intuitively with gastroenterology, rheumatology, sports medicine, cardiology, cardiology, endocrinology, OB-GYNs. Like, we already do that in the medical space.
Right.
And to be fair, dietitians do exist in this conversation. So dietitians exist in outpatient settings. They exist in all the hospital settings. We do exist in private practice. And to be fair, Case Specific is 25 RDs in 10 locations deep because we have relationships with amazing doctors that know to do this.
Yeah.
But we're still a core concept that's localized to a region. We're not a national norm. Like, you don't go everywhere in the US and like a Case Specific adjacent or equivalent exists. There's obviously some good virtual that's building up nationally, which I'm really excited for our profession. We're continuing to find ways to empower our profession. But what's most discouraging to me is that this administrative body seems to be leaning so hard into the doctor. And the fit in the 1950s, when the doctor was the smartest person in their town and you asked them about their taxes while they were hearing you cough, that is dead. They are extremely intelligent and talented people,
Yes.
but they are just as specialized as we are in what they do. And so stop trying to make them do everything, because they are not that
can't.
smart. Like, I'll say it this way. I consider myself to be a strong dietitian as a professional. And I have helped thousands of people with their lives. And it takes me a year
Oh, yeah.
of 1 hour visits, at least monthly. Like, I'm a 12 to 25 visit kind of guy. And what you're telling me is there is somebody that is so motivating, so intelligent, so perceptive that in 5 to 15 minutes, they can fix the problem. I call bullshit.
With a handout.
Yeah, with a handout and I think you should try this. I saw this gluten-free, dairy-free. I went to a conference.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what they need to be doing. But more importantly, when we talk so much about what we do as dietitians, we don't tell people what to do. We help them figure out how. And so when a doctor tells someone to go gluten-free, dairy-free and come back in 6 months, that is a starting point. But without the person to meet with every week or every month in between, it will fall on its face. There is a robust absence of us in that pathway that I'm very proud to say in Pittsburgh, we've done a really good job of ameliorating, which is cool. I'm seeing it happen. It's popping up and our profession's doing its thing. But as this administrative body is building its momentum, it seems to be pulling in doctors and being delusional that they are somehow nutrition experts. It's bringing in TikTokers and influencers and people that have really passionate stories. But where are the professionals that have been in the trenches for a decade plus working with this specific population?
They need to be part of the team of
Yes.
this movement. And the fact that they're not yet is extraordinarily.
It's alarming.
It's very concerning.
And maybe, benefit of the doubt, I will try and not fall to fundamental attribution error. No FAE bias here. Maybe they are in the back and we just haven't heard them or seen them.
Which, fine.
Fingers crossed. But
I would love that.
once again, the reason that I put a lot more of energy into this podcast this year, and the reason why, even though I've been called a fascist a number of times online, I continue to talk about MAHA, is because our profession is needed more than ever. This is literally our time. I haven't poured hundreds of hour, like 100-hour weeks and insane amounts of energy into our profession. And our team has collectively helped thousands, tens of thousands of people and helps thousands every month.
Yeah.
We're not doing this to sit on the sidelines while a bunch of people with like just enough knowledge to be dangerous F it up.
Yeah.
Like, bring us in. Name the place. I'm there in a suit and tie, and I will drop some knowledge on you. And I will also recruit some people way smarter than me to come specialize in some shit, because you guys don't seem to realize that you're missing an industry that is profoundly capable of helping this problem.
I mean, it goes back to the core issue is the vast majority don't know we exist.
Yeah. Or they think that all we do is work in the hospital, which again, I don't want this to sound like we're shading hospital RDs,
No,
because,
they're
by
very
the way,
important.
extremely important, but also like it's a segment
different.
of what we do. Yeah. There are the dietitians that work in the reactive model to help with acute care. And there are dietitians that are in the proactive model working in proactive lifestyle medicine. And both of those are essential. Just like I don't think the reactive model of care needs to go away. It just can't be the intervention for lifestyle stuff. So like we need proactive and reactive to combine and create a collaborative model of care.
The reactive needs to stay. We just need to bolster the proactive.
Yep. And so every time we talk about teaching a physician another class out of their 12 years of college, so that they can somehow be brilliant enough to fix a problem that doesn't get fixed in the current model, you start to realize wrong model, wrong professional, but you're really close because you're asking the person that's meant to be the quarterback, why are you making them the running back?
Mm.
Like, just, we're right here. We're here. So this,
Tag me in, coach.
yeah, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. And so that is our shameless plug. And hopefully that one goes viral. So all you listening, hey, share this one when this clip comes out.
Could be cool.
I want to be busy. I want us to be involved in this. I want us to, dietitians as a profession,
Any
to be more
dietitian,
engaged.
please.
Yeah, there's
Any of them, all of them.
so much opportunity. And so anything else on the MAHA front for you? I think that's my soapbox, and I feel adequately vented.
Yeah. I mean, you said it wonderfully. I think it takes time for the lifestyle and behavior changes. And it takes a whole lot more than 5-minute visit. And if magically PCPs just, have all of this extra time and they can spend an hour with clients every single visit, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sure, great, cool. I'd love that.
Yep.
But the reality is that they don't. And there are other professions that do, that can, and that have the expertise in that area.
And we're built to do so.
Yeah, tag us in.
Yep, that's what we're here for. So here we are. I love it. It's been so fun riffing with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for an awesome episode.
Of course.
Everybody listening, again, this is Laura. She is one of our mentoring RDs, just absolutely killing the game over here at Case.
Ryan.
Pleasure having her on. We are going to continue our monthly cadences. We're going to be balancing some RD episodes where we get to feature some of our amazing team members and riff. Laura will be back, so this won't be the only time you see her face by a long shot. And then we'll also be doing some EP episodes where our executive producer is going to come in and do a couple with me where she, as a little young Gen Zer fresh out of the pot, is going to come grill the old man. And I think it's going to make for good TV is all I'll say. So
I call you old, but you're only a year older than me.
you didn't even have to, people would never guess that. You know what I mean? Like you just let that simmer. But all to say, thank you for joining us today. We hope that we are helpful. Please, as always, message us, DM us, subscribe, share. Remember to hashtag spread the health when you do, and be well until we see you next time.